You know, guys, I've never really had the chance to talk about this, but I am a massive Fnaf fan. This franchise is the definition of you had to be there. Markiplier, game theory, how to make Fnaf less scary, all this stuff had me in a chokehold growing up. Nowadays, I've kinda lost a bit of interest in the franchise. You can mainly blame security breach for that, but trust me, that's a topic for another day. Fangames, however, are something I've always loved about this franchise though. One Night at Flumpty's, 5 Nights at Candy's, The Joy of Creation, these are all amazing games and prove Fnaf fans have some serious talent. They're just like Sonic fans, they're way too good at what they do, and that talent has even spread itself onto the platform of all time. You all know the gist already. We're gonna talk about a whole lot of fan games today, but before I get into the interesting ones, I gotta very quickly talk about these are damn near everywhere, man. Search up Fnaf and there's a good chance you'll see about 15 of these from the jump. I don't play these at all, but I get the hype, especially with voice chat being a thing now. I'd assume role-playing is really fun. All these games are usually a few maps, animatronic models you can select, humans you can play as, and that's really it. There ain't much to talk about. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's start off this episode with the game of all time. Fnaf Doom is one of the most popular Fnaf games on the platform, and I really couldn't tell you why. I saw the title and expected Doom. I wanted to shoot some animatronics, but instead I got...
Yes! I've been here the whole game. What? Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh no! Oh no, buddy! Wait, he's running so far!
Real.
What the fuck? Oh, what?
Fnaf Doom is a sandbox free roam. I don't even know what kind of genre this is. Basically, you spawn in recreated versions of the Fnaf locations and run away from animatronics that chase you. It's a cool and fun enough concept, however, it's far from executed well. Once the AI gets their eyes on you, that's it. You can't hide, you can't use objects to your advantage. There's literally no mechanics here other than sprinting and the occasional flashlight. It's a shame that this game has literally zero depth to it, because you could really get creative with this style of game, and here's a few ideas I've come up with. Vents, you as the player are tinier and more nimble than these animatronics, so if you're getting chased, you should be able to enter a vent and crawl faster than them. However, to make sure that you can't just cheese the hell out of this mechanic, you could have an animatronic like Mangle still be very fast. So if someone like Mangle is chasing you, you'd need to find another way to keep yourself alive. And here's where mechanic number 2 could come into play, a simple stun. Give me a flashlight, a punch, I don't care. Give me some way to stop these animatronics from running straight at me, even if it's on a long cooldown or drains from my general power. However, even though this game is lacking literally any mechanics other than walking, I won't deny it's some of the most stupid fun I've had in a long time. There are 4 main modes, each representing one of the main 4 Fnaf games. Here's where it gets weird though, each game isn't created equally. The effort in this game is so spread out and so random I can't even explain it to you normally. Fnaf Doom 1 has an entire cutscene with a performance.
Are we actually driving there?
Anyways, our car crashes, we get stranded in the woods and we have to slowly make our way into the restaurant. Once you get inside, it's Fnaf 1 and you can even walk around and explore. This game even has the main mechanics. You have the doors and the cameras, including new mechanics like your teammates trolling. In the back, he's going to close that door. He said close the door.
What? Close.
Oh, I'm playing with monkeys. I'm playing with monkeys. I'm playing with monkeys.
Even though this game clearly has the most amount of effort put into it, it ain't shy from not working. One thing I really like about Fnaf Doom 1 is there's multiple special modes, with the first being named Strike Laser Foxy. This one is a regular night turned up to 11, where this special Foxy chases you with the most intense music in gaming history.
What is this music?
Why is it like Sonic music, bro?
This had the potential to be a very interesting and good boss level if it didn't have the worst level design of all time. Genuinely, look at this.
Yeah, how do you stick this?
Are you pressing?
I just got jumped.
The second game mode is also kinda interesting but barely functional. In versus mode, one player becomes an animatronic while the rest try and run away and survive. As the animatronic, you have abilities like screaming for no reason, going invisible, which is really broken, and sending everything onto someone. Again, this is another mode that is extremely fun, but it's barely functional, which makes it fun for the wrong reasons. Sadly though, Fnaf Doom 1 is where most of the effort dies. Most other parts of this game just feel slapped together. Fnaf Doom 2 is is just a Fnaf 2 map with nothing special other than the music box that you have to wind up physically. There's no cameras, no mask, all you get is a barely functional flashlight and that's it. However, Fnaf DOOM 3 has a weird amount of effort put into it. It has an audio system, vent system, resets and the phantoms along with Springtrap. They work similarly to the actual game, but if you've noticed the pattern at this point, it's barely functional here. Fnaf DOOM 4 flat out doesn't work. Animatronics spawning out of nowhere.
Come on, get away, Ibrahim. Down behind you!
Oh
my God.
Animatronics also spawn camp.
Why is it so loud?
Why is he here already?
What? He's murking my friends off spawn!
This is the buggiest out of all 4 of the modes by far. It's insane how much it doesn't work. The flashlight runs out in 0.2 seconds, every hazard feels extremely cheap, and the map is just kinda bad. Overall though, the game as a whole is stupid fun that barely works, and that's what makes it the game of all time. Okay, let's move on to something a lot better. Fnaf Co-Op is another immensely popular fan game, and while this one is actually good, it's also really weird. For a game named Fnaf Co-Op, it ain't really very co-op. Okay, let me explain. Co-op right now features faithful recreations of the core 4 Fnaf games and sister location plus 2 bonus modes which I'll touch on later. Here's the thing though, if you play solo, these games are just the Fnaf games, which isn't a problem, but that's really it. Fnaf Co-op 1 is just Fnaf 1, Fnaf Co-op 2 is just Fnaf 2, but these are remade so well it's insane. Every single animatronic is completely modelled and animated, fit with their own redone jump scares as well. Every game even has their core mechanics, the doors, masks, music boxes, errors, everything is functional even with sister location. This one honestly surprised me the most. Each night plays out exactly like it did in the actual game, even down to the dialogue and story. The real cherry on top, along with all of these things I've mentioned, is the game is now live action. Thanks to Roblox being a regular engine, everything now happens in real time. Animatronics actually move and this makes things a lot scarier. Just look at the hallway in Fnaf 2. These motherfuckers assemble and look like they're about to jump you. Playing solo is genuinely one of the most fresh and fun ways to re-experience these titles. But then if you play co-op, nothing really changes. It's still the same nights and mechanics, except now there's more players crammed into what's clearly meant to be single player. Sure, there's 4 people in the Fnaf 1 office, but at the end of the day, we're all looking at the same cameras and closing the same doors. To make it more co-op feeling, I guess you could assign one person to do a specific thing each night. For example, in Fnaf 2, you get one dude on the music box and another guy on Foxy Patrol, but that doesn't really change the formula that much. However, to add some depth to the multiplayer, this game offers unique roles you can play during the nights. The police officer role is just the night guard, but you get a one-use taser, and the janitor role offers unique gameplay that barely works. Each night you get your own set of tasks, which means you actually need to free roam instead of just sticking in the office. However, a majority of the tasks just boil down to holding a prompt for 50 years, and if you're playing a game like Fnaf 2 where the animatronics are on crack, you just die before you can really do anything. Overall, I do like the janitor role in concept, but I've just never been able to get it to work, but that might just be a skill issue on my part. However, this isn't all that this game offers. There's 2 bonus modes that handle co-op slightly better than the rest of the game. Basement Hunt and Puppet's Revenge are 2 very similar modes that stick you in a maze instead of a generic office. In both of these modes, you have to complete objectives and avoid the big scary monster that's onto you. Let's start with Basement Hunt, because I got some serious problems with this game mode. The general objective is fine, you have to find levers around and use them to escape, but this mode has some serious balance issues. Make one wrong turn, sneeze a little funny, and this tin can is sprinting light speed at you with no way to defend yourself in the slightest. On top of that, the AI flat out doesn't work at times.
Oh, I hear him. Oh, I have to open this. Probably.
Wait, what? What? Yeah, this one sucks. We'll go back to the lobby.
What do you do against that?
This stupid endoskeleton needs a serious nerf. This mode is so stupidly difficult, in fact I only managed to beat night 1 a single time. Puppet's Revenge is more of the same but slightly better balanced. This time you find generators that are much easier to notice but require you to be there longer. The puppet is after you the entire time, but you can actually defend yourself this time by flashing him. pause, you only get 3 charges, but you can find extra ones if you take a risk searching wardrobes. I really see the vision with this mode, and it has a crazy amount of potential if they just did more with it. Imagine if each night had a different map and a more aggressive puppet that you had to adapt to each time. That would honestly add a whole nother level of strategy and variety to the core gameplay that this mode lacks. Overall, it is the strongest multiplayer wise in the entire game, so I can still commend it for that. And that's all I really gotta say about Fnaf Co-op. Incredibly well made, got an insane amount of polish, but ironically doesn't do co-op the best. But don't worry too much, our next game does co-op a whole lot better. But before we get to that, let me ask you all a very important question. You guys ever wanted to play worse DBD? What do you mean no? Okay, all jokes aside, our next game is pretty good but doesn't score any points in the originality department. Five Nights Hunted is a fairly new fan game that takes the DBD formula and slaps a Fnaf coat of paint on top. The general gameplay is basically the same. There's survivors, a killer, generators, and a big escape at the end. Unfortunately though, this game is unbalanced as hell. However, I can't really fault the developers that much because making a balanced game in this genre is damn near impossible. Being a killer is either the easiest shit ever or pure agony. Sometimes you really can't get your hands on someone, and that's mainly due to the maps and how many tools the survivors have. One of the most prominent examples of this is the lockers. Like DBD, players can also hide inside a locker, but the difference is these lockers are pretty much everywhere on the map. On top of that, the killer has no incentive to check these lockers because there's no rewards or resources inside. Survivors can also enter crawl spaces to completely evade a hunter, but on certain maps, those crawl spaces also take you to entirely different areas. So as a killer, oftentimes you'll get stuck in unfair loops because you need to take a long ass detour to reach the other side of the crawl space. Another mechanic is the doors. They close instantly but take a while to open, so if you use them well, you can create some distance and escape. However, the literal single advantage the killer has in this game is they are about 15 times faster than the survivors, so you can't really loop. Mechanically, you can really tell that this game favors the survivors, and the map design really doesn't help with this issue either. 2 out of 4 of these maps are absolutely miserable to play as a killer on, and that's mainly due to their size and their weird designs. Warehouse 87 aka Section 8 housing is insanely survivor sided since the map is the size of Russia. There's also multiple different elevations in certain parts and a crazy amount of hiding spots. In all the time I spent playing this game, I don't think I've seen a killer win once on this map. Do you know how insane that is? Fazbear's Pizzeria is the most unique map. It's designed in the shape of a donut instead of a maze or regular building. Most of the generators are on the outside while the middle is some sort of weird hub with a bunch of boxes scattered around. Playing as an animatronic on this map is miserable. There's too many doors and crawl spaces. In fact, I'm thoroughly convinced that the only way to win is to have one survivor actively troll. Lizzie's Funland is the most balanced map. It's still a little too big but doesn't feel like any side has too much of an advantage. What's unique is there's no doors on this map at all, so the survivors have to rely entirely on crawl spaces and the mazes around. And last but certainly not least is Afton's house, which is my personal favourite because of how damn chaotic it is. It's about 2 square centimeters and 2 of the generators are on one floor of the house, so evading the killer in a tight space is really fun. Generally though, these maps are quite unbalanced and make being a killer miserable, and sadly it's only made worse by how bad this game handles abilities. Okay, so you can customize your main animatronic using skins and abilities by using the Roblox staple excessive gambling. Thankfully the currency for both of these things is completely free, but gaining the one for abilities takes a long time. Remnant in this game only has a 50% chance of dropping once you complete a certain condition in a match. That however isn't the biggest problem. The main issue is a lot of these abilities are completely passive. The only active ability you can get is listening mode, which is a 3% chance of dropping unless you reach level 50. Reaching level 50 requires you to trade in skins you get from gambling and apply that to one animatronic of your choice. So if you want to reach a really high level, you either have to grind for 50 years or fork over your credit card. Then once you reach level 50, you only get a 0.49% chance to gain an ability based on whatever type of animatronic you're playing. Yes, that's right, after spending 50 years of your life reaching level 50, you then have a small chance to actually be able to do something. This is stupid. Listen, I get it. You need to make money from one of your projects. I understand why you would go down this route, but this completely ruins an entire role. It's a shame too, because as I mentioned before, a lot of the game is survivor-sided, so to not even be able to unlock abilities makes playing killer miserable. If you move past this issue, the rest of the game is pretty good. It's polished, it looks nice, you can tell there's genuine effort here, and it's some of the most fun I've ever had in a FNAF game, even if it stole DVD's whole flow. That's all I gotta really say about this game though. Good and fun, just needs some core balancing changes, and that's it. Okay, let's move on from the multiplayer content for now. I want to shift everyone's focus to some of the single player fan games I found. Our next game is extremely underrated and deserves about 100 times the attention that it currently has. Anyone remember the game FNAF Plus, the one that looked really cool and even had custom VHS horror tapes made for it but sadly never released? It was meant to completely reimagine the events of FNAF 1 and include its own designs and gameplay changes. Well, just like that concept, our next game, Fnaf Freddys Unlocked, is a creative reimagining of FNAF 1. Before I even get into the actual gameplay, I really want to talk about this game's unique art style. I really love how everything in this game looks, especially down to the way this game uses colours. Most of the game feels extremely colourful and warm to be in, except the office, it feels cold, dark and isolated. The animations also made me feel very immersed. I love how heavy the swaying left and right feels. Speaking of animation, I really love the little bonus ones they throw in, like Spring Bonnie kidnapping you at the start of a game mode or those little splash screens you get between the nights. This game also has really good sound design. I love the little random scary and eerie sounds that play. They really suck you into the environment. The only thing I don't like about the sound design is the socially awkward phone guy. I can't tell if this was intentional or just a bad performance, but the phone guy sounds uninterested in everything. Just take a listen.
Hello? Oh, hey. Day 2. Congrats. I have something really quick to point out. Yes, they do move around at night. And that's why I won't talk as long, as much as last night. The animatronics have also been completely redesigned, and I'm a fan of all of them except Chica. Freddy doesn't look too different, however his jump scare needs an immediate rework. It looks like he's giving me the most devious front shots. Bonnie got a new tee and it goes extremely hard. Shout out to my black brother over there. I really don't like how Chica looks at all. It's mainly the hair and the underwear piece they gave her. It just it doesn't look nice. And finally Foxy, who's my personal favourite. They gave my boy drumsticks and his face opens up all fun time style. These designs are really good on their own, but they really shine during the normal gameplay. And let's talk about that gameplay now. This game is pretty similar to FNAF 1 with some very interesting changes. First off, the door lights are gone, now replaced with a regular flashlight. This flashlight is unique however, since it can overheat. The longer you shine it, the more the meter charges. This means you have to be very smart with when you check outside your door, because it's the only way to fend off Bonnie and Chica. In this game they don't interact with the doors, which confused me at first. You just have to shine your flashlight on them and they go away. Freddy is the most interesting animatronic in the game because now he's been reworked to appear in both hallways. This caught me so off guard the first time I played. You now actually have to watch the cameras and keep track of where he is at all times, which in turn makes Foxy more active. Foxy works exactly how he did in the original. He'll run down the left hallway after a bit of time and you just need to close the door on him. All these changes, while not the most insane things in the world, makes this game feel a lot faster paced and more difficult. Content wise, this game actually has a bunch of surprises as well, including 2 special nights on top of the normal ones. Night 4 had me genuinely surprised. It's a boss fight against this new animatronic. I think he's the phone guy and he locks the main animatronics away in a room and drops one of the hardest remixes known to man. Gameplay wise, he's literally Bonnie and Chica meshed into one. He appears in both hallways and all you need to do is flash him once when he reaches the door to send him away. But that's really it for how he attacks. He doesn't mix anything up at all, making this night sadly very easy. When you play it for the first time, you're like, what's going on? But then you realize how it works, it just gets a little dull. I think honestly, just to improve this night, it needs one more mechanic to make it more engaging. Maybe there's a fake animatronic that tries to trick you into closing the wrong door,
before, or maybe the others come out on the last hour or something, I don't know. Overall, I do applaud the effort and attempt at making a boss fight, but it just needs a bit more depth and it would have been fine. Night 8 is something I can't even reach on my own, but from what I've seen, it looks like the normal nights but on steroids. It has this whole dreamy look to it, which is visually very nice, but my ass can't even get past night 5, so one day I'll re-review this and give my take. Overall, the singles player side of this game is really well polished and incredibly well made, but there's still more this game offers. There's a multiplayer mode in this, and I see the vision for it, but I couldn't get it to work sadly. Basically, in this mode, one of the 5 people in the lobby will be chosen as a security guard while the rest are animatronics. In the pre-round phase as a security guard, you're meant to be able to place cameras around, but I couldn't get it to work, so I was just stuck sitting in the office without cameras. You still have doors and a flashlight, and the way you defend yourself is the exact same in single player. As an animatronic, you walk incredibly slow and try and get into the player's office to kill them, but this is where the game just breaks. When I was the guard, all I had to do was hold the doors shut with no way of the animatronics being able to fight back. I assume as an animatronic you'd have some skills or some way to sabotage something, but I was stuck in the perpetual state of waiting for Name to attack, so I guess we'll never know. I really do see the vision with this game mode, and I imagine if it actually worked, it'd be incredibly fun. The clear highlight of the game is the single player stuff though, so I urge you to please check it out if you have time. And since we're on the topic of good single player games, I'm sure I don't even need to introduce Fnaf 2 Reimagined. This game has some of the craziest production quality on the entire platform. You've got everyone looking at footage and going, huh? This is Roblox? The developers really stretched this engine to the max, especially with the visuals. Every animatronic is fully textured, modeled and animated to the same quality you'd see in an Unreal Engine project or something. These jump scare animations are straight savage as well. I love how they managed to make them gory without going too over the top. I also love how the night guard actually tries to fight back, well at least until Toy Bonnie shoves a guitar in his neck. On top of all of this, the gameplay is so much better than the original as well. OG Fnaf 2 was incredibly fast-paced, fun and chaotic, but the gameplay really didn't have any depth. The game had the biggest problem of just falling into one pattern? The game had the biggest problem of falling into one big pattern. Wind the music box, put on the mask, flash the hallway, pray Toy Bonnie isn't in the vent, rinse, repeat. The game still managed to keep this fun because of how much was going on, but at that point it was basically just a rhythm game with a bit of RNG involved. Fnaf 2 Reimagined completely shakes the main gameplay by introducing a lot of core changes, but before we get to those, let's quickly say farewell to 4 animatronics. Rest in peace Balloon Boy, Golden Freddy, Toy Freddy and the Puppet. These 4 have been completely smited from the main nights, and now there's only 7 animatronics to worry about. There only being 7 doesn't make this game any easier though, since now most of the mechanics have a little extra to them. Let's start off with the simplest mechanic, the mask. Pop it on and Toy Chica, Toy Bonnie and Mangle will just leave you alone with no questions asked. The mask can't be used on all of the animatronics however, take for example all of the Wizards. You know, something I've never understood about the original, why in the hell are the Wizards fooled by the mask, especially Freddy? Does he walk in the office, see himself and say, yeah, that's normal and go about his day? Now in this game, every single Wizard's mortal enemy is the flashlight. Bonnie and Chica appear out of the vents, and once they get in the room, they initiate the scariest aim trainer of all time. These demons move fast and you have to keep your flashlight on them the entire time, which is not only difficult, it's really scary because of the sound design. They make a loud ass screeching sound when they're about to leave the vent, and then on top of that they cause a mini blackout when they leave. Foxy is even creepier. He appears in the hallway along with all 4 of the party rooms. To get rid of him, you need to find the appropriate room he's in or the hallway and just flash him. Pause. This flash beacon is also used on Freddy, who now makes his way to the office slowly, Springtrap style. He's on a set path and you need to use the flash beacon to send him back to his first spot. Yes, a fan game finally did it. They designed a gameplay loop that actually requires you to use the cameras. You now have to check all of the party rooms, all of the vents if you want to be extra cautious, and where Freddy is at all times, which really keeps you on your toes. On top of that, cameras can also be randomly deactivated, which leads to the final mechanic, the fuse box. Behind the player is a fuse box, and this is used to fix the cameras that go down. However, you want to use this as sparingly as possible. Turning around takes about 8 years and you can't do anything to defend yourself during that time, so if something comes to kill you, that's game over. Mastering when and where to use the fuse box adds another layer of depth and difficulty to these nights. In fact, mastering all of these mechanics takes some time, but once you get it down, it's incredibly satisfying. This is genuinely some of the best gameplay I've ever seen in a fan game, and there's still more to talk about. At the end of night 5, something strange happens. The phone guy calls us to let us know William Afton is after us. This leads us to a cutscene where we leave the office and stumble into Parts and Service to keep ourselves safe. Inside Parts and Service is Golden Freddy, and he's here to tell Michael to basically burn everything down. This works and gets the place shut down, but as you all know, William always comes back. On night 6, we gotta return and finally finish everything for good, and this leads to a completely different style of gameplay. Now we're in a worn down version of the pizzeria, and we as the player need to literally click our way through it. Your objective is to find all 5 of the withered animatronics and finally free their spirits using your trusty tool to break them apart. Of course it can't be that simple because this unemployed bum William Afton is lurking in his new form Shadow Freddy. To get rid of him you need to flash him, but the charge is limited to only 3 uses, so you need to be smart with when you use it. Once you find the main 4, it's time to move on to the grand finale of the night, which basically amounts to the greatest father-son duel of all time. After a beating and a half, Michael ends up taking the upper hand but ends up getting his throat slashed somehow. So in the saddest but also most beautiful and poetic way ever, he and William die at the same time. And that's the end of FNAF 2 Reimagined. Absolute cinema. Genuinely, this is one of the best fan projects I've ever played. It's got great production, an original story, and most importantly, amazing gameplay. You've probably already played this one, but if you haven't, please check it out. It's amazing. Okay, we've only got 3 more games to talk about now, and I'm gonna group our next 2 together because I think they are very similar. Forgotten Memories and A Time in the Past are some of the most well-made games I think I've ever played on this platform, but I also don't really like one of them that much. Both of these games take place in a really dark and creepy location, both mix free roam and traditional gameplay, and both have the most annoying animatronics in gaming history. Forgotten Memories is the really popular one. I remember a lot of people hyping it up when it dropped, and it's very easy to understand why. It nails so much. The visuals, the sound design, the realistic feel of the game, these are all glaring strong points. However, I personally think the actual gameplay is really bad. In fact, it's enough to drag the entire experience into the gutter. Let's start with all those good things I mentioned though. Holy moly, this game looks and sounds amazing. Huge props to whoever was in charge of the visuals. I was immersed the second I got into the first night. The pizzeria is modeled so well and the lighting complements it perfectly. Seriously, this is one of the most realistic looking environments I've ever seen on Roblox. In fact, this game is so well crafted that it managed to be one of the only FNAF fan games that actually felt scary to play outside of the jump scares. Just roaming around and exploring felt extremely eerie with just a flashlight in hand. Another bonus is this game has fully voice acted cutscenes with original characters, and I'll say the performances are not bad. These characters even speak during the nights, which is cool, but most of the time they just end up speaking over each other. But sadly, this is where all my compliments end because the actual gameplay just sucks. I'm sorry. I can't tell if this is just a genre thing or this game in particular, but the core gameplay is just so weak. My main issue comes from the general structure of the nights and the lack of any real mechanics. Let me break it down. During the nights, you only really have 4 real threats to worry about. There's the puppet who sits behind a curtain in the office that you have to reset the timing on manually. Imagine a pirate's cove that you need to interact with instead of just watch. There's also the main 4 animatronics, and they act more like patrollers. Excluding Foxy, they don't naturally head towards the office, instead they sort of camp in one part of the map. I'll get into why I don't like the animatronics in a minute, because for now I want to focus on one of this game's really weak mechanics. Okay, so the last 2 things the player needs to worry about is the oxygen and the power generators. These occasionally go out during the nights and you need to go fix them in person. If the power goes out, that's basically game over, and if the oxygen dies, that's even worse. You get set on a pretty short timer, and if you fail to reset it in time, you just suffocate and die. This mechanic alone is fine. It requires you to actually memorize the map and find the smartest way into the generator rooms. But then, if you're smart, this also becomes the most boring mechanic of all time. If you're playing multiplayer, you can just send one person to each respective generator on the map and camp there until something goes out. So with this in mind, a grand majority of the average night is just sitting still in a room until something happens, which is extremely dull. Don't worry though, the developers just thought of this, and the game does have ways to counteract just camping, but this leads directly into the game's biggest issue. These animatronics are annoying as hell. They are so aggressive and so fast, and you really don't have the tools to defend yourself. If you're outside of the office, your only tool is the lockers, which is good. They completely deter an animatronic, but they're really hard to find. Don't get me started on trying to run back to the office either. Your stamina is so comically low that fucking EDP could probably run for longer. So clearly the intention is for you to not get detected at all and sneak past these threats. But let me introduce you guys to Freddy! Remember earlier when I said the animatronics patrol a certain area? Well, this dickhead takes that to another level. His domain is the dining area, and he guards that like he's getting paid extra. His life is on the line, and he's promised a kiss from Toy Chica. So much as sneeze, cough, or put your pinky toe in the room and this fella is on you. This loser doesn't know when to quit. He was the cause of so many of my deaths, and he's also the main reason I don't like this game. In fact, in general, this is one of the weakest and most unengaging gameplay loops in a fan game. Start a night, do some trial and error, probably die cheaply, get to a generator, effectively camp there the whole time, and that's really it. Thankfully, a time in the past improves on a lot of these shortcomings, but it still isn't perfect. The general gameplay is extremely similar. There's an office, a free roam area you need to memorize, generators that go out, and aggressive ass animatronics. Here's the difference though, there's actually shit to do. There's tasks to complete each night, and they differ every time, so you actually need to roam around and explore the pizzeria to complete a night. This is cool, it incentivizes you to keep moving and makes it borderline impossible to camp in one area. The addition of tasks makes this game a whole lot more engaging, but it's difficult to even do these due to one glaring issue. These damn fuck ass animatronics. Not only are they hyper aggressive in this game, the map is also quite small. It always feels like they're around every corner. There's also far less defensive options in this game. All you have is the doors and a single vent in the office. You also have really low stamina, so unless you're right next to the office, you are just dead, and I really don't like that. Overall, I think if they just balance the animatronics a little bit more, this game could genuinely be one of the best fan games I've ever played. It nails the visuals, it nails the sound, it nails the production quality. If it just had slightly better gameplay, I'd love it way more. And that goes for both of these games. They're extremely high quality and well made, but I don't think I'll find myself replaying them anytime soon. Okay, we're done with free roam. I'm done with the 90s, man. The last game I want to talk about is incredibly unique and spins the entire FNAF formula on its head. Now tell me guys, what words come to your mind when you hear FNAF fan game? Free roam? Office? Minigames? Lore? Notice how you didn't say roguelike. Yes, you heard me right. Our final game is a FNAF roguelike, which is two words I never expected to hear in the same sentence. You might be thinking, how the hell does that work? Well, One More Night has its own completely unique structure and really smart gameplay loop. Essentially, you get to choose between randomly selected threats each night, and once you clear a night, you just keep going. If you're good enough, this can basically keep on going forever, and it's really addictive once you learn how everything works. Each threat has a highlighted description or ultimate custom night style, and while it tells you everything you need, I do wish we also got a visual explanation. Sometimes when you're reading a large block of text, it just makes some of the mechanics sound more complicated than they actually are. There's quite a variety of enemies you can add, even the monsters from Doors make an appearance, which was really unexpected. A lot of these threats are also pretty unique with how they act, so it never really feels like you're adding straight reskins of another character, which is really cool. On top of the actual threats, there's other things you can add to a night like perks and minor and often funny inconveniences like spawning a massive pillar in the middle of the office. With that all being said, all of these elements mixed together seems a little complicated, right? Well, thankfully no. The actual nights end up being really simple because they're quite fast, and the ways to defend yourself are incredibly basic. There's cameras, 3 doors in the office, and the mask you use along with vents, and all of these are very simple to get the hang of. It doesn't end there however, because certain animatronics add new things to keep track of. Take for example Mango. He bangs on the window occasionally and you need to use the flashlight to send him back. Overall, everything take for example Mango. Overall, everything blends together really well, and once the nights start ramping up in difficulty, this is some of the most hectic fun you can have in a fan game. Seriously, I'm keeping this so short because I don't have any major issues with this game. The literal only thing I'd say is a downside is you have to read a lot to understand how every mechanic works, but other than that, it's basically flawless. This is one of the most unique, most fun, and most well-made fan games I've ever played. If you have friends to play this with, please play it with them. And oh my god, I think I'm done. That was a lot of FNAF. Jesus. Overall, Roblox has a surprisingly interesting and deep selection of games here. I did not expect to go and ramble for this long about this many games when I was planning this vid. My personal favourites were definitely Freddys Unlocked, Fnaf 2 Reimagined and One More Night. While I do enjoy a lot of the games I played here today, these ones really stood out to me. In fact, I actively replayed them a lot. That was really fun to talk about, so guys, please let me know if I missed any really good ones in the comments. I'm so down to do a part 2 if there's still a lot. And finally, before I go, I just need to say there was only one voice crack this entire video. You guys proud of me? Okay, wait, before you all click off, I do want to say I have memberships now and they're really cheap, so if you want to support a guy, go ahead and check it out, see if it's right for you. You by no means have to, if you got a bit of spare change, go help a brother out. Okay, bye, go enjoy the Pokemon music.